Callouts by Bruce Cassidy as VGK loses to the Sabres at home 3-2. It was the first Buffalo win ever in Las Vegas. A shift in the goaltending schedule for VGK. And Chris will also dig in. He'll discuss more about why the Golden Knights continue to struggle on home ice, as now they have won just one time in their last 7 contests.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. You can find us on Twitter at LockedOnVGK, at TDChrisG, at Tony Dasco. Of course, you can find us on YouTube. Locked On Golden Knights. Please subscribe there. And so the call-outs first. Let's talk about that. Kessel, Marchessault, and goaltending. This not only is the golden age, this is the age of accountability for VGK.
Yeah, it's so strange right now. Going to the post-game presser first. So Ben Gotts was very helpful in helping us kind of all check this out after the interviews were all over and such. So in the post-game presser on the first goal, that was the Alex Tuch to someone. Beautiful pass from Tuch. And what happened was Cassidy mentioned you have to keep your stick in the right lane. And we were kind of trying to figure out exactly what he was alluding to. So if you watch Alex Tuch's pass, Marchessault has his stick to his right side. He's basically protecting like a drop pass or something. Exactly. He's protecting like a drop pass or something like that. But he does where his stick should have been, and what Cassidy specifically stated was he should have had flipped it over and had his backhand kind of across his body to disrupt that potential pass that got across the ice and beat Adin Hill. That was a specific call out. We saw Marchessault in the post game in the locker room, but he didn't talk at all. He was like, the players were kind of exiting from what I can only assume was an absolute undressing from Cassidy. No one mentioned that, but I can imagine it got a little bit ugly out there. So that was the first one. Second one, Kessel, all of 28 seconds or something like that in the third period. And Cassidy did mention, he's got to play better and be a part of things. And Amadio did get the call up to the first line somewhere, I think in the second period, I want to say. And he ended up springing Chandler Stevenson's breakaway, which gave VGK hope last night. As far as the goaltending, I didn't catch if anything was said last night, but it has been said before. And Adin Hill was fine last night. The 3 goals he gave up, I don't know, it's going to happen. I mean, none of those goals were necessarily goals that I felt, should have been saved. I mean, it would be nice if you got one of the 3. You can select anyone that you want. But he gave the team a chance to win. He made a lot of great saves early on. And, VGK, the first period, they just kind of hung out, right? They were there. They didn't lose the game in the first. They didn't necessarily take advantage. They had some chances. William Karlsson, I'm sure you were salivating at that one. And I probably beat you to the punch. And then second period, tale of VGK for the last 2 months now. And the third period, they had life. You credit some of that to the fact that Buffalo was just sitting back trying to eliminate the high danger chances and kind of playing the old prevent defense, which never works. And VGK had a lot of chances, more breakaways, a friggin' penalty shot, and the list goes on and on and on.
Okay, so of course we saw the Tuch Thompson goal. And to me, what really stood out there was just everyone was puck watching. I mean, yes, he's very gifted and skilled and all of that. We get
he got the job done. He did what he had to do.
Right. And he buries the puck, but they were like, wow, this guy's really good. Let's just sit back here and watch this. This was exciting. And so, that really stood out to me. Second period again. And now they've got to be about a -10 or 11, somewhere in that vicinity in the second period. What happened here, and I see this so much in sports, right? So the scoreless first period, the missed opportunities, the 2 missed point-blank shots by Karlsson right? Everything starts to just fall apart.
Stone had one really good too in the first.
Who did?
Mark Stone had a real good chance.
Stone
in the first
had a
as well.
great chance, yeah, and he also had a breakaway later that he just ran out of steam on. There was nothing really behind.
He always shoots. He never
shot
dinks.
there. Yeah, and then so again, in that first period, I think it creates some doubt in their minds. I've seen this before with teams. They'll drive down the field in football, and then they'll stall, and then they'll miss a field goal, and then they just hang their heads, and they're pretty much done for the night, right? Basketball shots not falling early. Okay, well, we're just not going to win tonight. I see this often. I see this frequently. They also did a good job defensively in that first period, and they're almost like, what else do we need to do?
Buffalo didn't have many
15 minutes.
chances in the first, many shots in the first. The reports are
15
down there,
minutes.
but I gotta go look.
15 minutes, Chris, without a shot on goal.
Yeah.
15 minutes. And so those seeds of doubt, I think, kind of, seep into their heads, I think. And then period number 2, I mean, that was just, 3-0 in the second period. And I just don't know, like, what else to expect from this team. You can't we saw this earlier this season. Okay, they have 7 wins where they come from behind in the third period. Great. Sooner or later, you're not going to come back in those games. Sooner or later, that's not going to happen. And you talked about Amadio. It was kind of funny because Cassidy said last night, here's like, oh yeah, so that was like we just had like one guy left that we could.
He was the fourth one. The fourth one
that was played. We'll just we don't have anyone else. We just throw him up there on the top line.
Yeah, I mean, it's there's more questions than answers, and I guess there's one thing I wanted to lead off like this, and I forgot, but Ryan Wallace, who does the pre and post game, very, very, very good dude to listen to. If you haven't checked out one of his post game reports, it's definitely a good show. He spends about the first half hour, talking about things. They go to the post game pressers and things like that, and then the last half hour, 45 minutes of the show is call-ins and things like that. And I just turned down when I was in the Aria pulling out of the garage, and again, if this person happens to listen to our show, some goofball, call it what it is, suggests trading Mark Stone because he's slow and we need his scoring and blah blah blah. So Ryan Wallace, he definitely got his 2 minutes worth on him. He definitely would have taken a penalty if it was a game situation. So it goes on. Basically, you want to trade one of our best talents with all these injuries, and goes on. And he spent, like I said, a good 2 minutes just undressing this poor caller who, probably first time, last time caller, right? And then after the break, you could tell maybe he calmed down a little bit and collected his thoughts. And there's 2 perspectives that are important to consider right now, as we're all concerned about the bad stuff that's happening with VGK right now. The first perspective, this team was 13-3 at full or a majority of full health with a 6-1 home starts. And the second perspective, this team is 22-11-1. I know, Tony, you got something coming, but they are leading the West. They are leading the Pacific. Now, leading the West, technically, I think the Stars have a higher win percentage right now based on games played. And Seattle, for whatever reason, they're 4 games behind the rest of 3 and 4 games behind the rest of the division. So that's clearly rigged, Tony, for Seattle to overtake us. So more questions than answers. And I asked my question last night was simple. I wanted to see what the perspectives of the team being snake-bitten was. And Stevenson, yeah. Riley Smith, you could say that. And then he gave a little more details beyond that. And Cassidy did, allude to it a little bit, but a new term last night, rough net. I've never heard someone use that, rough net. So I actually had to Google that term as it pertains to hockey, and I still didn't figure it out. But listening back to Cassidy's answer on my question, it seems like rough net is a term when the team isn't shooting well. So he mentioned a little bit of that as well. So go ahead, Tony, you got something coming.
No, we got heavy ice. We've got rough net. Okay, the narrative about the injuries, man, come on. And like all of a sudden it's 1-0, it's 2-0, it's 3-0. And then, of course, on cue, on their broadcast last night, all these players, here's a list of players that are out. Quit it, because they were still in the game. And then again, they rallied to come back in the third. They still do have the weapons and perhaps the system, and they missed on breakaway chances, and they missed the open net last night. That's not on injuries. I just get so sick of that narrative. And the Avalanche, again, the team that could complain the most, they're just kind of sticking to their guns. We'll get better as the season goes on when everyone starts to return. That's a bad narrative. And I think that, for the fans that lived and experienced through last year, that's a tired narrative. Any positives to take out of last night?
The chances, a lot of breakaways, and this is going back to, I was actually talking to an old friend. Shout out to Keith if you actually check this out, Keith. But we've sat in P&L profit and loss meetings and things like that. Something they love to cram down your throat in the corporate world. I've never been a fan of a lot of the way they look at that.
Been
but
been there.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. And in the casino world, eventually, on the more of the table games and the slot side, bad luck is something that is not measured, but it's something that is considered when you're factoring the profitability specifically of games that have risk to the casino. Casino backed games, tables, blackjack, whatever, not progressives, but stuff that the casino is funding. And you talk about bad luck. A whale came in betting 6 figures a hand, cleaned us out, took us for 2 million. Otherwise, we would have made a lot more this past weekend. So there is some of this luck happening right now on the VGK side. Riley Smith said it, goals do come in waves, and it's a fair statement. There are times feels like anything you put to the net goes in. Anything you put to the net goes in. And then there's times where you have a third period like the VGK did last night with multiple breakaways, a penalty shot, which I'll talk about that in a second, and just chance after chance after chance. William Karlsson couldn't bury one. Stevenson couldn't bury one. Riley Smith couldn't bury one backdoor. All these goals that just always seem to go in. And whether this is a coaching situation, whether this is bad luck, whether this is just, things evening out, and you hope things do even out in the course of a season as it pertains to luck and posts and these centimeters that, not even inches, these centimeters that can determine a win and a loss. So to the penalty shot, and I mistweeted, someone called me out, rightfully so. It looked like Marchessault was looking back at what I thought at the time was Logan Thompson, because obviously Coach Logan Thompson is controlling things when it comes to penalty shots and shootouts. And I thought I caught Marchessault looking back at Adin Hill, kind of trying to see if Adin was going to give him somewhere to shoot or something like that. And I don't know. I don't know if Adin Hill said anything or not, but if Adin Hill did say something, it was terrible advice, because Marchessault tried to wait out UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. We call him UPL in the card world because anyone that has 3 names, I always have to use the first 3 letters because it takes too long. It takes too long to say their name. But UPL waited Marchessault out. Marchessault tried to wait UPL out, and it was just a bad chance. Marchessault is such a better shooter than that. He has a good backhand, forehand deke, but Marchessault's best breakaway / shootouts ability, if you will, is that low shot, that low snipe to the left, right side, or even 5-hole. So bad. Yeah. That was a little rough right there.
Do you want to talk about your guy Kolesar and the big hit on Labush?
And I'm glad you brought that up too. So Kolesar gets a boarding penalty, rightfully so, early on in the game. And man, that hit, someone sent me the still shot of it, and woof, he sent the gentleman for a little bit of a ride. It looked worse than what the intent was. So one thing to consider is, in the corners when these big hits happen at the NHL level, in my opinion, there is a shared responsibility of safety. Obviously, the player who is the aggressor needs to understand the situation, and when there is a vulnerable player in front of him, and you can still hit someone in the back without necessarily doing what Kolesar did, but you can still hit someone, inflict pain, get a turnover without it being a dirty or dangerous hits. But in the same token, when these forwards or whoever's in the corner, whoever is handling the puck, if you will, or whoever is about to get hit, when they turn quickly like that, it puts them in a vulnerable situation, and also puts the player who's going to hit the other player in a vulnerable situation. This game is fast. Once someone starts the process of a hit, there is no turning back. No one can pull up. No one can stop. Listen, at the youth levels, high school, beer league, all that stuff, all the responsibility goes on the person that's going to initiate contact. At the NHL, best players in the world understand that even someone can't stop quickly their motion. I mean, the Pietrangelo hit, when he went down against Montreal and basically incited a little bit of a riot on the ice, kind of the same thing right there. Petro pulls up along the boards as he's about to get hit. And that's sometimes what the instinct is. Someone's coming at you, you turn your back, right? That's just what you do. And unfortunately, that hit was worse than it was. I think the other player got the major, but I don't think there was any. Did he get one game for that? I can't remember if there was a suspension or not. But either way, it wasn't as bad as it looks. So big hit, got the crowd going. And on the other side, VGK did draw a similar boarding penalty, which of course the VGK faithful in the audience was cheering for that call as it felt fair.
Yeah, it was pretty feisty there. Carrier again with a heavy hit.
Carrier. He still
calls him Carrier. I heard it last night. That was hilarious. I think in your answer, did he call him Carrier in your answer?
He did.
Okay. Maybe they're not going to win until he figures out that he's Carrier. Okay. And then, so last week on the show, I said, Chris, perhaps this team is pressing a little bit. And last night, that was the angle. They're pressing at home. And on the TV broadcast, maybe they're pressing a little bit too much. Hello. I mean, on the road, they just play so loose. At home, they said they grip their sticks, whatever you do, all the hockey jargon.
Grip the sticks a little bit tighter. Chandler Stevenson
a little tighter. But okay, so Kessel, Leschyshyn, Ron Bjork just were like non-existent in that third period. He had enough of those three, especially Kessel, and just that one shift, because I didn't see him for a while. Then I go,
28 seconds. I believe it was 28 seconds in the third.
Was it really? Wow. Yeah, that's crazy.
His sister got a lot more ice time in the rivalry series game last night at Staples Center.
And then I know Cassidy said that he felt that this team generated enough chances. They generated enough offense to win the game last night. That's what I think upset him the most, because especially the misfit line did generate a ton of chances in that game.
Yeah, and I mean Carlson missing that. I know he dogged Carlson, but Carlson did have a grade A dynamite, whatever pun you want to put there. Stone had a real good chance in close. There was so many good chances just in the first. I'm not even talking about in the third when they were pressing. In the first, I mean, I really felt like I put a tweet out there. I said, does it feel like that VGK is kind of taking what's being given to them? Or are they playing a little more conservative? And the more I think about it, especially the way the game kind of played out, I think they were playing a blend of being conservative, but also taking what's being given to them. This was highlighted by Darren Millard in the pregame, and that Buffalo is going to give you a lot, right? Buffalo is going to give you a lot of ice. You're going to be able to make a lot of decisions, whereas a team that's a little, like a lot of the metropolitan teams, if you will, who play a much heavier game between the blue lines, where it's a lot of dump and chase and get in the corner. Against the Sabres, you're going to have choices to make. You can dump it, you can carry it, you can pass it. And I thought VGK was doing a decent enough job once they got their breakout going. There were some times in the first when I felt they couldn't get the puck out of the zone. It was going to cost them. Thankfully, it didn't. And it was, the first was fine, right? The first, I guess, was fair. Chances were there. They limited Buffalo's chances. Not a lot of shots. You mentioned a long period of time without a shot on net. I think Tage Thompson did have a post off of a face-off where VGK was lucky to avoid that. So that was VGK's good luck, right? The shot off the post doesn't go in. Adin Hill makes a couple of good saves, flashes some leather, and the team can't at least get on the board, And then the first goal happens. Alex Tuch coming across where Marchi is unable to disrupt that pass, and boom. You can't put yourself in the mindset of these players and what they're feeling when that happens. And it clearly led to mistake.
Is that the Skinner goal?
Mistakes being made after that. Yeah, Skinner scored first, and then Tage Thompson, whoever got the last one, whatever. But
Pilot.
What's that?
Pilot.
Oh, that was the play. Gotcha. Yeah. So, what are you going to do, right? And you can't put yourself in the mindset of these players and what they're feeling. Oh, here it goes again. Another one of these stupid second periods. If we can just get through the second period, they're thinking about this. The coach, Cassidy's thinking about this when he goes to sleep at night. The players, when they come to practice today, they're thinking about it. And, whether the coach has to do something fun, whether it's some weird activity to ease the pain, whether it's something in the locker room. And, if I was going to get a second question last night, I kind of wanted to ask Cassidy, what can you do like during the media timeouts, during the TV timeouts to energize the team? Do you like to talk to the players? I was setting him up because I took that video where he didn't say a word for a minute and a half.
He didn't say a word.
He didn't say a word. He did not sit there and say a word. And again, sometimes that could be Cassidy's very calculated. So that could be a bit of gamesmanship, if you will, on his side of just trying to he did mention in his post-game presser, you want to remain calm. You want to not, push things too hard, and you can't get the goal back on the next shift. And a lot of the players, after they get scored on, they want to go right out there and get that goal back. They want to get it back, and they have a different motivation, which could lead to more mistakes. So Cassidy staying calm on the bench could actually be him just wanting the team to play their game and stay within their game. But I think they were also down 3-0 at that point. I wouldn't mind seeing a water bottle being thrown or a clipboard being chucked. And maybe that happens behind closed doors when no one's around. Who knows?
Coming up next, Bruce Cassidy, as you mentioned, he is now changing the goalie schedule. A little bit of a surprise. We're going to talk about that more when we return right here on Locked On Golden Knights. I'd like to thank our sponsor, BetOnline, betonline.net, your number one source for all of your sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league that is out there. They have beer leagues posted, they should. From pro football to college bowl season to basketball to the National Hockey League, we have it all at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, then you can even find those at BetOnline as well. And we are the fastest and easiest way to get to all of your betting information. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn much, much more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. We appreciate everyone tuning in. And for your second listen, it's Locked On Sports Today. And you can find that wherever you get your podcast. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick in Las Vegas. Our YouTube channel is up. It is a tremendous and free stocking stuffer for you. All you have to do is subscribe. That's it.
Ring the bell. They told us in a digital thing. Tell people to ring the bell. So ring the bell, people. That's going to drive the subscription.
Is that what it said? Ring the
bell. Click
okay.
Like. Ring the bell. Ding, ding, ding.
Thank you. I missed that, man. I'm not good at attending meetings, as you know. Last night, we saw Adin Hill, Chris. He was in net, and now it was a little bit off schedule. What we've become accustomed to, where we just see Hill, on weekends or whatever. It's like visitation rights, okay? So he just gets the kids' team on Saturdays and Sundays. Okay, so in any event, now Bruce Cassidy shifting to what appears to be, it's a 50-50 split between Hill and Logan Thompson. And to me, I was starting to wonder the other day, he started to get a little antsy, Cassidy did about Logan Thompson.
Yep.
And kind of got into his head and all that. There's something called, and we see this in sports, where a lot of the younger players, they hit the rookie wall. And perhaps that's something that Thompson's going through. He already has played more games this season already than he did all of last season. So how do you feel about the goalie split? How is this going to work out? He has to see something. He's not happy with the goaltenders. Apparently, you could see that. And he also said it last night when, like we heard Cassidy say something to the effect, well, their goalie's saving a lot of shots, and, we have to do the same thing. What is going on with the goaltending situation? You were there in attendance last night. Did you get a feel?
Darren Millard pregame had a dynamite reference in the split, and they're nearly being a 50-50 split right now. That the Coach Cassidy is doing a little ham and eggs right now, going up and back with the two, and it's a fair reference. I thought it was fun, and I chatted with Darren Millard just a second about it and gave him kudos for that. I enjoyed it, but I mean, listen, Adin Hill's playing well right now. Let's start by saying that Adin Hill is playing well right now, and the 50-50 split might be working. This is something that I mentioned many times. I was concerned that if LT was going to wind up having 60 to 65 starts, that at some point it might catch up to him. You said this season, I believe he's already played more games than his rookie season. Okay, so yeah, I mean, a rookie wall, I don't know if I would call it a wall. He's still got a pretty good record and a save percentage. I'm sure it's good. I haven't looked at it, but I'm sure it's good. I'm sure the numbers are great. And it's different for him. He's now an NHL starter. He's the 1A in a 2 goalie rotation that's a little more even. And you got to give a shout out to Brossoit and what's happening down the AHL right now. The decision is going to have to be made pretty soon about Brossoit. Does VGK keep him as a security blankets, or as a tool. It could not even a security blanket, as a potential tool as the season progresses. I mean, Brossoit is ready. Brossoit is ready to be on an NHL roster, whether it's in Vegas or elsewhere. He is certainly ready. And McCrimmon's going to have to make a decision about him in the next, I would say, 45 days or so, whether they want to see what they can get from him in return, help the scoring, or just to ride it out in the event someone does go down, be it LT or Adin Hills. Back to the rotation. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's going to be a full-fledged 50-50 rotation. Tony, you pointed this out. You might have been ahead of this when there was a comment that was made a couple weeks ago, and then we were kind of surprised to see Adin Hill on a quick turnaround. Maybe it was Cassidy wanting to get in the head of Logan Thompson a little bit. And it's fair. You create maybe a little bit of artificial competition to elevate both players' game right now. Adin Hill knows, hey, wait, I'm getting more chances. I'm not playing every Saturday. I'm getting starts on the weekday. Watch it, So Adin Hill is going to want to play better and do things to get himself more time on the ice. Everyone wants to play. There's no doubt about that. Adin Hill would love to be the starter as much as Logan Thompson would be. And it's still Logan Thompson's net. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here. But same breath now, Cassidy might be riding LT a little bit, and it might be in LT's head a little bit. Is that good for LT short-term, mid-term, and long-term, most importantly this season? We'll see how he responds.
Okay, LT, 22 games this season, 20 all of last year, but this is considered his rookie season, and it is a much larger workload. And again, the schedule.
And there's a lot of video out in Logan Thompson too. Let's put that out there. There's a lot of video out there.
A ton now, right? And we talked about teams second time around against him, and they are starting to find. They went 5-hole on him twice the other night. We saw that. Perhaps, they can pick up all of these idiosyncrasies as they continue to watch more film and see him live. And then, so the Cassidy quote was, "We need a few more saves." He said, if we're going to have goals against us, he goes, we're not, on nights when we're not going to score, we need a few more saves. That was apparently, I think, the gist of what he was saying. And so, to me, that is, again, just putting it on the goaltenders. Brossoit. Now, okay, so we aren't currently, last night was the beginning of the trade freeze. And so we can't have, it's a Vegas freeze too, going on concurrently. So the trade freeze, right, Chris, what we have here is you can't make any trades until later this month. So they do have a little bit of time to figure out what to do with Brossoit, player of the week in the AHL. 64 saves total, back-to-back games, back-to-back shutouts for Brossoit. I still say, again, LT is the player that they could send down to the AHL. I don't think that he plays down there. I think what they're going to do is they'll send up Brossoit. He'll get a start, or who knows what.
A showcase.
We'll see how he's coming along. A showcase, right? It could be for trade value. It could be something, if this guy's going to be our best goaltender in the organization, we're going to have to use him, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense?
A lot of things make sense. He's posted a 2.4 goals against with Henderson right now. And that's whatever. But a 919 save percentage, currently sitting on, he's 5-6 down there, but that's not indicative of what he's been doing. And that 919 save percentage stands out because early on, that save percentage was somewhere in the 700s in his first couple of games when things weren't going too well. So Brossoit definitely is, had his artificial training camp and things are improving. You mentioned about, saves needing to be there and things like that. By all means, definitely you gotta have more timely saves and such. And could there be a path where LT is sent down on paper so we can have some type of showcase for the NHL? Absolutely. And honestly, I don't know if that's needed or not. I'm sure I might try. I think Henderson is home this week once or twice, so I might try and get down there. If anything, I'm just curious to see how many scouts are going to be there. If it's the same 2 or 3 scouts from the Pacific that are going to be there, or if it's going to be a little more crowded media row, because the scouts basically sit right behind the media and off to the side. So we'll see. We'll see what's going on down there. A lot of interesting stuff happening. You got a little trade freeze happening. You almost wonder if this is hockey's version of the winter meetings where they can't technically make trades and deals, but they're talking. Maybe they're talking even more right now because deals can't be made. They're kicking tires, and whenever this little trade freezes up, and the Vegas freeze, more importantly, it's freaking cold as heck out there. We'll see.
Yeah, and during this freeze, of course, we basically allude to it as VGK home for the holidays freeze, because they're home every year.
It sounds like a ticket pack. Sounds like a ticket pack.
And again, not blasting LT, and he's so consistent over 42 games now in his NHL career. Last year, he was around the same vicinity. I think 100% of a point behind, from 2.64 goals against average, and the save percentage at 917. So he has been consistent, and take nothing away from him, but maybe he just needs a little recharge, or who knows. Coming up next, Chris was in the locker room last night. He got a question in with Coach Cassidy. We're going to discuss more about why this team falters at home continually. Now 8-9 on this campaign. We'll return with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick here in Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Don't forget, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. What was that terminology you used earlier?
Roughnet?
No, the other one about subscribing. Ring the bell.
The bell. Ding, ding, ding.
Ring the bell. Okay,
I
woke up the other morning.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I woke up the other morning and I heard the Salvation Army bell in my ear for some odd reason, because it's everywhere, right? Okay, so snake-bitten. Is this team snake-bitten? You posed that question last night to a couple of players. I think you might have asked Coach Cassidy about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I took a bit of a note from some of my colleagues who I've seen kind of have a theme when they talk to everyone. I don't know. Some people are calling me like a journalist and stuff. Just stop doing that, friends.
It's alleged.
I'm alleged. Yeah, exactly. I'm not a journalist. I'm just out here having
fun. I'm allegedly a journalist.
Yeah, I won't put that on my resume should I enter the workforce again. I probably would actually. I probably would.
It won't help. It won't help.
Good conversation starter. And then they asked me where I went to school for, and I'm like, I went to community college for 6 months, bro. But moving past all this right now, yes, snake-bitten was my theme. I asked Riley Smith, I asked Chandler Stevenson, I asked Cassidy. And Cassidy, I wanted a little more context from, so I wanted to see if he had gone through a similar phase where the results have been polar opposite. And he said he had to think that one through. Didn't really get much of an answer as far as if he's been through this before. And he did mention snake-bitten a little bit, but went back to the rough net, went back to the opportunities, went back to things eventually evening out. Chandler Stevenson didn't wait too long to say, yeah, a little bit, we could be snake-bitten, but then talked about the opportunities. Riley Smith, same thing. I gave him a little more context to say, you've seen the best of the best in this building, and now this rough time is, and then I hit him with the snake-bitten side, and it took him maybe about 6 seconds to say, sure, maybe a little bit, and then back to the opportunities. We're scoring on the road. Goals come in waves. So the team and everybody is buying into Cassidy's perspective right now that things will get better. The opportunities are there. It's not like the opportunities haven't been there in a lot of these games. Some of these games they've been blown out. Seattle, Vancouver, unfortunately, Rangers. That's too many games in a short span to say that for, but there's been a lot of opportunities in other games elsewhere. And I want to go back to one thing here about, yes, we're down right now. And I mentioned the overall record and things like that. But something that we did talk about end of November, entering December, when the team was healthy. This is important, folks. When the team was healthy, I felt this would be a successful month if VGK was right around 500 for the month. Given the schedule, given everything, we both said this. Folks, VGK, in my estimation, I was counting this earlier, looks like they played 10 games this month. I think they're 5-5 this month. And they still have 3 home games left and 2 games on the road. So maybe they'll finish the month 8-9 or 7-8, whatever that math works out to be. But they're going to finish right around 500, maybe even plus 500 by 1, even 2 games if they can go on a little bit of a run here. So with all the injuries, am I making an excuse? No, but I am acknowledging reality, something else in the corporate world they love to cram down our throat. But the reality is, times are tough. We are missing a lot of our best talents. Pietrangelo, again, he's iron. He's more the Iron Man than Phil Kessel right now as far as the minutes he's getting out there. Over 16 minutes through 2 periods last night. So they're not going to slow down with him at all. But the reality is we're missing a lot of our best weapons right now, a lot of our great defensive weapons, a lot of our great two-way defensive weapons, and a guy named Jack Eichel, who's pretty good. And he is our hero, if you will, that can at any point take over a game. I felt in the first and second period the most we were missing Eichel so bad last night. He's that one guy. You get him on the ice, there's going to be an opportunity. Every shift he is out there. And if he doesn't get the opportunity on the offensive side, he's going to have a very resilient forecheck that's going to make it tough for the other team. Excuses? No. Reality? Yeah. And at the end of the month, so to speak, we're going to finish hopefully right around 500, which would have been success with a healthy roster. And going into January, it looks like a 7-game homestand. So maybe February will be better. But all kidding aside, things do loosen up a lot in January. If you go on the NHL app and look at the schedule right now, there's a lot of gaps between the games. Let's see if the screen picks it up. There's a lot of gaps between games right now. So things are going to be just fine, I think, as the team returns to health and gets some time off between games.
As I say, this team ain't Jack without Jack. Say
that again.
They're not Jack without Jack.
Their last season. Their last season without Jack.
They need him. They need Jack.
Yeah.
They need Jack back.
They do.
And then I wanted to ask you about that tone that was set by VGK in the first period. Forechecking, hitting. This was East Coast hockey at its finest from Cassidy.
Yes.
Right?
This was not the skilled, quick Pacific, the type of games we're used to seeing. There's a lot of stuff. There was a message that wanted to be sent. The team wanted to come out physical. That was obviously something they wanted to do. All the line 4 has mentioned this before. They want to come out and have a physical tone. They love when they get the starts, obviously, and they did. They set a physical tone, but Buffalo also pushed back. They pushed back too. They did drop some of our players, and you had a lot of scrums and things like that. And I liked the tone. I liked what VGK was trying to do. There was a strategy, and they executed every part of it besides getting a goal off of the momentum that they were creating.
Quick question. Paul Cotter, is he out longer than you expected?
I mean, I think the concern is upper body concussion. I don't have anything besides that to offer. You hope that it's, like an NFL type thing where they might miss a game. In NFL's case, roughly a week to a week and a half where they stay away from the ice. And that's kind of where Cotter is right now. It happened last Thursday against Chicago. We're just a few short days removed from that. I didn't see him walking around at all last night. So I'm not sure if he was even in the arena. And you certainly just hope, obviously, especially with head injuries, health first, safety. And yeah, we need him too. Like he was line 1 for a while and seems to click best right now with Stone and Stevenson in the absence of Jack Eichel.
Now, remember the grimace, from McDonald's fame? That's what Mark Stone looks like every time he's on the ice. You don't remember the grimace? We'll explore more tomorrow on that. Wow.
I'll Google while you take us home.
Okay, the grimace, yeah. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. Ring the bell on our YouTube channel. Did I say that right? Do you have the grimace? Do you have a picture of
purple
him?
Thing? Really?
Yeah. Put that up. He's like, yeah, the grimace. Yeah.
$39.99 on eBay, folks. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. He reminded me of the grimace because he's always grimacing every time he's on the ice anymore. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco.
First eye roll
take us
today,
out
folks.
today. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights. Grimace Man.